Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the September 17th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host will be along shortly. We have another amazing show for you again tonight, and we will bring on our first guest in a few moments. First, I wanted to make sure everybody knows about the National Black Book Festival, which is coming up very soon. It is in roughly a month from now. It starts October 17th through the 19th. This is going to be the biggest and best one yet. So we're very excited about all that we have in store. And if you haven't had a chance to go look at the full weekend schedule, go to nationalblackbookfestival.com. And at the top, it's a link that says click to see the schedule. And also our promotional video. And this year, we're going to be having some TV ads on local Fox affiliate and independent network Channel 20. So Channel 26 and Channel 20, we're going to be having commercials on those two networks this year. So those will start at the end of the month. And so you'll be able to see if you tune in. So our first guest is Juliana. And I believe her last name is pronounced Pache, but she will correct me if I'm wrong. And Juliana has a very unique book, and we received some information about it and read about it, and thought it would be great for her to come on the show. So, Juliana, is your name pronounced Posh, your last name?
Pache.
Oh, Pache, so it's French.
Yeah, I believe it's from France, but anytime I look it up, there's a different country associated with it. So I'm actually not sure, but I believe it's French.
Okay. Is your family from Louisiana by any chance?
No, they're not, but my mom's side is from Cuba, and the city that she's from or her family's from is Santiago, which had some French influence because a lot of people from Haiti migrated over to Santiago.
Okay, right.
So actually, my mom's name is French. Her name is Solange.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there is a connection there.
Yep.
So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. We're happy to have you. And you have an exciting book. Juliana has a book called Black Crossword, and it has 100 mini crossword puzzles that celebrate the African diaspora. And then she has a website too. So just show us a copy of your book first. Do you have it handy?
Yes.
Okay, so Black Crossword. And for those who like to do crossword puzzles, this is a perfect vehicle, and you get to learn some things about the African diaspora. So tell us, I did read a little bit about how this came about. Is this your first book?
It is. Yep, this is my first book.
So, and you like doing crossword puzzles yourself.
Yeah.
I understand from the article I read.
Yes, I love crossword puzzles. I love word games in general. I love board games. I love us categories, anything with wordplay, boggle. Yeah, so I like to do kind of bite-sized puzzles, especially in the morning, just to kind of get my brain going. So I was
with friends, right?
Oh yes, I used to love words with friends. Oh yes, I used to do that all the time.
Yes.
But I got the idea for Black Crossword when I was actually solving the New York Times mini one morning. And I wondered if there was, well, first of all, the puzzle that day felt very skewed towards one demographic. And so I wondered if something like Black Crossword already existed. And I assumed that it did. So I actually was looking for it first because I assumed it must exist. I just need to find it. And then I couldn't find it. So I decided to just make it.
Okay, and that's great. You're filling a niche that's not served. I'm sure there are people that are looking for puzzles like this, and they probably just were disappointed at when they didn't find it, and now they can find it.
Yes, and actually it's really surprising. Well, actually it's not so surprising for me to hear this, but people often tell me that they feel like they're not good at crossword puzzles. Black folks specifically tell me they don't feel like they're good at crossword puzzles. Um, but when they play this, they feel like they are good at it. Not to say that the puzzles aren't challenging. They are, they can be.
It's just
Um,
something that they can identify with, because I know some of the questions on crossword puzzles, the hint would be some TV show that a lot of our demographic doesn't watch, or
right.
a celebrity that we may not be as familiar with. Maybe not even because they're white, but maybe because they're a little older and the people playing the game are a little younger.
Right, exactly. Yes. So what Black Crossword pulls from is what I would consider maybe our Black common knowledge, our general knowledge, as opposed to what is considered mainstream, which is usually white and male.
Mhm.
Love
Well, I love it too. And now, is your crossword puzzle book, is it available widely?
Yes, it's available widely. You can get it wherever you purchase your books. Online, you can get it from Bookshop, from Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And then on the website, which is blackcrossword.com, there's a new puzzle every day, and you can just play that right on your phone.
Wow.
Well, yeah, that's neat. Now, do you
Yeah.
create all these puzzles yourself, or did
I
you?
do.
Okay, so have you ever considered having guest puzzle makers or whatever that would be called?
Yes, eventually I want to get to a place where I can hire some people and highlight some other puzzle constructors.
So you offer the crossword puzzles for free, though.
Yes, yep, online they're free every day. The mini puzzles are always free. So I started Black Crossword with the daily mini puzzles online.
Mhm.
And so this is the first book. And there's another book coming which will be larger than minis, but not a standard full size puzzle. So they're what's called middies. So they're bigger than a 5x5. So all the books in all the puzzles in this book are 5x5. So they're kind of bite
Okay,
sized.
this small. Okay.
So the next book will have puzzles that are 6x6, 7x7, 8x8, etc.
Oh, okay. Now, someone asked, it's Dash Harris, this is a viewer, asked if, is it hard to think of the crosswords? I guess the clues, for you to think up the crosswords that you use
Yes.
to create the puzzles.
So hi Dash. So Dash is actually, she's my friend. She has a travel company called Afro Latinx Travel. So she gives tours across the Black diaspora. She does Afro diasporic centered tours in Panama, in Costa Rica, in Cuba, etc. So to answer her question, some days the puzzles are hard to create, other days not so much. Sometimes I have a theme in mind. I usually start with one term or one word that I want to include in the puzzle. I start from there and then I see what I can put around because I mean, it's really like kind of Tetris with words, Tetris with letters. You have to move things around so that all the words make sense next to each other, all the letters make sense next to each other. So in that way, if I have a certain theme, I might be kind of limited, especially with the mini puzzles because there are usually only 10 words. So it really depends, but it really doesn't take too long since they are smaller. And then also I have a word list. It has thousands of words in it. I created my own word list because I wanted to make sure that when I'm constructing puzzles, I can pull from this word list and it's going to give me words that I know are catered towards the Black diaspora.
Right.
Okay. And now, is there software that actually constructs the puzzle itself?
Yeah, so a lot of crossword puzzle constructors use Crossfire. That's the most common one.
Okay.
And there are some other tools that are available online. There's one from Crosshair, which is the software that I use actually to embed the puzzles on my website. They have a tool where you can start out with a word, you can input it, and then it'll show you kind of the words you can put around it, the options that you have, and you can construct that way. Um, and there's another tool from Amuse Labs that I use sometimes to build crossword puzzles.
Okay.
So, and I may have missed it because I came on a couple minutes late, computer issues, you know.
Yeah,
But
you didn't miss anything. We were just doing intro.
I'm sorry.
You didn't miss anything. We were just doing
Oh,
intro.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to clarify. So when we play the crossword puzzles, are we playing on the website or is there an app that we can actually download and play the crossword puzzles there?
Yeah, so right now it's a website, it's blackcrossword.com. Eventually I will have an app as well. I'm actually looking into developing one now.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, I did put the website in the chat. And I think I'm going to be playing it a lot. I love crossword puzzles, and I probably got that from my mother because I remember she used to play when I was growing up. I would watch her play. So I love crossword puzzles, and I'm kind of like you, where I like word games. Anything that has to do with words because it keeps my mind stimulated. But one thing I kind of was wondering because you said your friend has the travel service. I'm
Mhm.
quite sure that's a great audience for your crossword puzzles because when we travel, we need something to do while we're on the plane or on the
Yep.
train or where have you. So this is probably a great audience for you. Is that some type of partnership that you two may have looked into?
Yes, actually, I'm working on a collab puzzle with Dash, which will be for Hispanic Heritage Month. It will be focused on Black Latina people, obviously.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, y'all just have it down. You have it all covered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten away from doing crossword. I used to love word finds. That was my like growing up. I would buy anytime I would go to the store and I would just buy those word find books and I would just um devour them. But I haven't been into the crossword puzzles as much as of late. I'm doing more reading of books, but I'm sure it is good for quick stimulation. And so I'm going to go on your website and check it out and start doing some puzzles.
Amazing. Yes, it's good for your brain. It's good to keep the mind sharp.
Hmm.
If you see one term in there and you solve it with a certain clue, maybe a couple months later, you might be solving for the same word, but the clue is different. And in that way, you're making new associations
I like that.
or,
Okay.
so you're kind of building on different information that you have in your brain. And I mean, that's good for, keeping your brain sharp in the long run.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
mean, those games, people discount games because they think they're a waste of time, but you're exactly right in
we need
that,
brain stimulation.
I'm sorry.
We need brain stimulation.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's a good way to just disconnect from everything that you're doing, all of the hustle and bustle, to just sit down for a while and play a game. You just get to let loose for a second and not just be so
Yes.
wound up.
And this is part of the reason why I love crossword puzzles, especially mini crossword puzzles, is they're accessible, they're fun, they're challenging, but you can also learn something. And I didn't see this in the beginning. I caught on to this kind of metaphor later on, but this medium is really so perfect for my mission with crossword puzzles, which is to create connectedness between all of our rich cultures, our rich histories, and we can learn more about each other across the diaspora, across even our country or countries. There are many different types of culture and histories within the Black diaspora. So it's really a beautiful metaphor, the way that the words are all connected to each other, and the way I think that all of our cultures are also connected.
So are the
Very
answers in the back of the book?
They are.
Don't cheat, Gwen. Don't cheat.
No, I don't cheat. I don't like to, because you don't win if you cheat, it takes away from it. But sometimes if you get stuck, you might need to just check,
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you do have to do that. Something that I try to encourage people to do is to, if they don't know the answer to something, to reach out to someone who they think might know the answer. So for example, if it's a generational thing, if somebody born in the 90s thinks they might not know a reference that's from the 70s, like ask an elder and learn from, and have that conversation and learn from what they know that maybe you don't know.
Makes sense.
Well, that can work too. So when did your book come out exactly? Oh, okay, it came out last month, so it's brand
Yep,
new.
August 20th. Yep.
Okay. So what's been your response and feedback so far?
It's been really positive. Yeah. And
Say so. You've been in Rolling Stone.
yes, I have.
That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
it's been
Mhm.
very, very positive. I think people didn't know that they wanted this. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times people
Mhm.
feel a need that a lot of people of other cultures may not even know that there is a need. A lot of times the assumption is that whatever is available for the majority should be enough for the rest of us.
Right.
Maybe.
And there was actually research that was done on crossword puzzles. I'm forgetting her name, but she was a subject in this AP article that I was featured in on Black Crossword. And so this researcher, she researched clues in that were available in mainstream crossword puzzles, and she found that the people represented in them were skewed white and male. So
Okay.
yes, so the frustration that I think people feel sometimes when they do crossword puzzles, and those crossword puzzles being inaccessible to them, it's definitely not pulled out of thin air. It's backed by research. It's a real thing. Not
Yeah.
that we needed the research to
All
know.
those times that we thought that the crossword puzzle was hard, and it's just because we didn't identify with it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me of that old episode of Good Times when Michael refused to take his test because he said that it was basically saying it was
Culturally
skewed.
biased.
Yeah, yeah, there you
Mm-hmm.
go. It was culturally biased.
Yeah. Yeah, and he wasn't wrong.
Right. He said they're saying what was it, coffee and or teacup and saucer. And the kid put teacup and table because they didn't put a saucer under their cup. That's something that they didn't do in their culture. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a real thing. Everybody doesn't live the same way. We say black people aren't a monolith, but the world is not a monolith. And
Right.
we can't say that, oh, we're just trying to be too black because we don't identify with something.
Right. Yeah, and actually that reminds me of something that I think about often when I'm making these puzzles is in Black Crossword, I can play around with language in a way that a mainstream crossword puzzle constructor or platform might not play with language in the same way, because there are different rules of language in what's considered standard mainstream English and in the way that Black people speak, in the way that we use language. So I can be I can be a little bit more interesting when it comes to that. And also, um, I was at a conference last year, um, it was called it's called the Wonderful World of Words. And there was a linguist there who gave a lecture about wordplay and just how we use language. And she made this point, and I always knew that Black language was creative and not ever less than whatever is considered the standard mainstream English.
Mm.
But she made the point that actually languages like Creole languages, AAVE, what was once called Ebonics, all of those
Yes.
languages are actually more complex than whatever is considered the mother language. So I thought that was very interesting, and I can play around with that language in Black Crossword.
Okay. Now,
And I think it would be very successful too.
Mm-hmm.
have you gotten, and the reason that this came to my mind is because this happens to us with the National Black Book Festival. Have you gotten any feedback from anyone who said that your book was causing division or your book was racist?
Actually, I have not at all. Actually, no, I've gotten a few bots on Twitter, but you'd be surprised. I really don't get any, I don't get any negative, hardly any negative feedback, like none that I can remember. It's overwhelmingly positive, and even from people outside of the Black community. Because the thing is, I think that people in the what's called the cross world, so crossword puzzle lovers, word game lovers, they tend to be very curious and they tend to seek out knowledge. So they get a kick out of learning something that they didn't know before. So even from people outside of the Black community, the reception has been super positive.
Well, I'm glad
That's
to hear
good
that.
because I think
Mhm.
both Gwen and I have had have instances where people have kind of sent us hate messages because they said that we were being divisive. Whenever I start advertising my Black History Month literary weekend, I'm going to get some nasty message, Facebook message or an email from somebody saying I'm being divisive. And Gwen gets it all the time because, you know, she
I
does Black
do.
Authors Matter TV.
I did. And the National Black Book Festival. And the closer
Yes.
we get to the festival, the more advertising we do on social media. So it ends up reaching more people. And so I end up getting more hate. Some of it's hateful. Some of it is almost like the person is being somewhat thoughtful. But like yesterday, a gentleman, I sent it to you, Rhonda. I did a screenshot and texted it to you.
Mhm.
He said that having a Black event, why do we have to cause division by having a Black event? And I told him it's no different from other cultural events like St. Patrick's Day or Cinco de Mayo or
Yeah,
Chinatown.
there's
It's cultural,
Asian heritage
right?
celebrations. There
There's all
are
kinds of celebrations. So,
mhm.
and then he said, well, they don't call, what he said something like they don't hyphenate their name. They don't say Chinese American. I said, look, we get to call ourselves what we want to call ourselves. And the days of you being able to tell us what to call ourselves are long gone. So,
You're a real one
I'm
for
gonna,
going back and forth with them
yeah,
because
well,
I
I
ignore them.
normally don't. I normally just block them and delete. But sometimes I say, okay, I'm gonna answer this one. And then I told him that he would be blocked, so he would no longer be traumatized by our ads.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, really,
Well,
really,
I'm
really,
very glad that you haven't experienced that, but I'm quite sure that
yeah,
when
I'm
you
glad.
decided to do a project like this, that you had prepared yourself just in case you get these types of messages.
Oh yeah, I was kind of bracing for it, to be honest. And yeah, I had to work out some things with the coding on the website. I use this tool called Crosshair, and they usually allow for comments on each puzzle. And so I
Hmm.
asked him if he could change the coding and turn that off, because I was like, I already know if this gets in the wrong hands, if it gets into the hands of one bot, I call them bots because I dissociate. I pretend they're not even real. I'm like, I'm not gonna engage with you. If it gets in
Right.
the hands of one bot, it's gonna get in the hands of 20 other bots. So I was like, let's nip this. I don't even want anybody
The
to be able to
comments on
comment
it.
on
Well,
it.
Yeah,
sadly, some of them aren't bots. However, people are very
Mhm.
empowered when they're sitting at home in their basement or their bedroom or where have you, and they can type whatever they want because nobody sees them, people feel
Right.
very empowered by that.
Mm-hmm. They
Yeah.
do.
I immediately, as soon as I get a notification, I block and delete their comments when I
Yeah.
get one of those types. But this particular one, I did decide to respond. But my thing is, why don't you just ignore it? I mean, it's why do you feel the need to engage and attack? Just keep scrolling, swipe up or down or over or whatever.
Yeah.
But some people, they just have to give their 2 cents, and they feel empowered to tell us what to do. Some people still don't get it. They don't get to tell us what to do or think or
Mm-hmm.
what we call ourselves or any of that anymore. Period.
Yeah. And they really just want someone to blame because really you don't have to, if you're not interested, if you don't like something, you don't have to spend time on it. Go
Right,
find something that you
exactly.
do like.
Exactly. And we
Don't
have
don't
all
give it energy.
nationalities that come to the festival. We don't have all Black vendors. Our audience that comes is always multiracial. So, and nobody feels, nervous or anything like that or out of place. So it's a very welcoming event, and it's all about books, but we celebrate our culture. So I have a question. Give us a clue from one of your puzzles that you that we could maybe guess what the answer.
Okay. Um, let's see. All right, we can do, I have two here. The first one is uh it's 5 letters. The
Okay.
clue is Solange might not be pleased to see one in the sky.
A crane.
Yes, correct.
Oh, you guys, I didn't have any idea. Solange, the singer, Beyonce's sister. Is that
Mhm.
Yes. I
okay?
like that song too.
I
I
don't
didn't
know.
think I would like it, but I do.
Okay,
You
that
were
was
quick.
good.
You had that answer quick. Okay, another one. It's 5 letters. Ting-a-ling singer Shaba.
All right.
Oh, you
I know the answer. I'm
I
just
think you
trying to
got
give
it.
Gwen a chance.
Oh
Oh,
no, don't give me a chance because I have no clue.
Shabba Ranks.
yes, correct.
Well,
Shabba Ranks. Shabba.
see, I'm not. I tend to listen to music from a certain with a certain style from a certain era. So
Okay, well, I have one for you then. I have one for
okay, all right. So I don't like some of the newer songs. I have heard of that though, the Shabbat. I haven't heard that, but it's been a while. So I don't, it's not something that will be in my mind. But
right.
Okay.
give me one that's not necessarily to do with music. I
Okay,
love music. I'm a music, but not some of the newer stuff.
Well, she got one for you. I'm sure she
Okay.
has one for you.
Okay.
let's see. Let's see. Um, the thing is, I have so many music ones. Okay, here's one. 3 letters. Do the Right Thing director Spike.
Lee.
Mhm.
Yay!
There you go. Yay!
Okay. I got one. Okay. Well, I'm going to get a copy of your book and give it away on a future episode of the show. And so and I think I might get an extra one and give it away at the book festival as one of our door prizes.
Oh, amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, so we'll do that. And thank you for creating this project for
Yes, it's
everybody
wonderful.
to enjoy and making it accessible to the world.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Thank
You're
you for being here. You have a wonderful evening and God bless you and all you do.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
okay.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Okay, that was Juliana Pache, and she had her book called Black Crossword. She has 100 mini crossword puzzles in it. And go to blackcrossword.com and she loads one every day, a mini crossword every day. So I need some water. But I'm glad that I was able to answer one. I started to feel dumb. I know I'm not dumb. So I said, well, shoot. Okay, I mean, maybe I need, when I go on there and do the mini crosswords, I'll start to get more engaged with some of this stuff that she's talking about on there. Okay, so the next guest that we have was on the show a few months ago, well, several months ago, but she also is going to be doing a seminar at the upcoming National Black Book Festival. And the title of her seminar is about the six-figure formula for an author's six-figure formula. What is it? The six-figure author formula. That's the title of her seminar. And
I think I've been following her for a while, and I think I stopped following her when my Facebook page got hacked. So I'm gonna have to follow you again, Miss Melanie.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
yeah, so Melanie, Bonita, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to be here.
We're
You're
excited
welcome.
to have you.
She's a best-selling author. She's a speaker. She's a coach, and she helps authors increase their revenue from their book revenue, especially utilizing social media tools. So, Melanie gave me a few pointers, and I've been able to take advantage of those. One of them that I didn't know about, because it's more Instagram driven than Facebook. I feel like Facebook didn't start doing the story thing until after Instagram did it. And so I'm on Facebook more than Instagram. And my daughter used to talk about her story, and I didn't get it. But it's really kind of like the way Snapchat let everything be just 24 hours. So the story is 24 hours. And so my thing was, why just have something 24 hours? Because I like my stuff to stay there for, a long period of time. And the only way you can do that really is through boosting things, more or less. If you really wanted to have an extended life, you have to boost it. But the story on Facebook, you taught me about that. And so with the reels that we do with the different segments of the show, we put them in our story, or even this show will be on our story for after the show. And then after that, we'll do reels for the rest of the week. So Melanie taught me that. I didn't really understand it. And then she explained it to me. So she has some good information.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people don't know the full magnitude of what they can do with Facebook. It's so much more than just, oh, let me make a post and share. There's course, like you could do at followers, at highlight. But the key is now, because of the algorithm, people don't get to see us as much. But when you put it in stories, it's up there when people can see it, like you say, for 24 hours. But the thing is, it gets their attention so that they could come to your page. So yes, it's social media as authors, especially. It's like 20 years ago, they didn't have social media. We have free marketing, so to speak, where there's people on it, millions of people on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, any social media. You mentioned Snapchat every single day. And I think as authors, we need to take more advantage of sharing on social media and not just limiting ourselves to one type of book marketing strategy.
Right.
Absolutely. And another good thing about stories is that a lot of people get caught in a rabbit hole with stories. They're looking at a story and then they swipe to the next one and they swipe to the next one. So there are people who spend maybe an hour just looking at stories. And so if you're only posting on your page, you're missing an opportunity to connect with people who spend their time in stories. You're missing an opportunity to connect with people who spend their time in reels. My boyfriend is a reel watcher. He watches reels. So if I want to capture his attention, well, I can capture his attention. He's my boyfriend. I'm just saying, as an entrepreneur, if I want to capture his attention, I need to be in the
On
reels.
Reels, absolutely.
I can't just do a Facebook post and expect that limited audience to be able to see it. You may have 5,000 friends, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that all 5,000 people are going to see your stuff.
Absolutely. And they push them out. They push the reels out because they know people are like your boyfriend and they want
Mhm.
people to stay on Facebook. They don't want them to
Right.
leave. So they make sure, even if they're not following you, that they push those reels and those stories out so that people could keep scrolling, keep scrolling.
Well,
Right.
now let me ask you this, Melanie. Now, I think a lot of people are not as I don't want to say active, but they're not posting as consistently
Mhm.
as they may need to because it gets tiring. I'm like, there are gurus out there who say you need to post 5 times a day. That's tiring. Then there are people who say, well, just batch create, let's
Yeah.
say every week, and
Mhm.
then schedule it throughout the week. But if you don't batch create on that Saturday, then you're playing catch up. So do
Right.
you have any techniques for people so they can stay more consistent on social media?
Absolutely. I tell them, even if you don't want to batch it a week, once at a time, before you go to bed at night, for me, it's easier to batch it at nighttime. So before I go to bed at night, I schedule my five, like I said, 3 to 5 Facebook posts for the next day. So it's so funny. People think, oh, she's up at 7 o'clock saying good morning. No, I'm doing my devotional or I'm in prayer or I'm listening to my church prayer call. I'm doing something else, but I'm not on Facebook. I schedule that good morning post the night before.
Right.
So yeah, so tend to schedule most of my posts the day before. I tried doing like once a week, but it did become overwhelming because it was just too many posts. If you think about scheduling once a week, if you're going to do 5 days a week, literally, if you do it once a week, you're scheduling like, 5 to 25 to 35 posts. So
Yeah, and I'm so sad. I would sometimes create all that content and still wouldn't schedule. Like I done forgot to schedule the content.
I have had that happen before, and that's why I try to do it right away. So the other
Right.
thing I do, so that's for like posts. The other thing I do for actually reels that you're talking about, and I have to start doing it again. I've been traveling so much, so I haven't met with my videographer, but I have a videographer. And when I meet with my videographer like once or twice a month, right? Or every 2 or 3 weeks, my videographer will do a whole bunch of short form videos. Like I will go ahead and he has something where I could teleprompter where I could just read so I'll just go ahead and create it, read it. He sends it to one of my virtual assistants in the Philippines, and my virtual assistants in the Philippines, he will put the graphics on it. He will, chop it up into a reel, and he can use my Metricool or another app. You can use another app so that they don't have access directly to your social media, but you can have them
Mhm.
use Metricool and he uploads the video. So that saves me a lot of time. All I have to do is record them. Well, I don't even have to record them. My videographer records them.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I tell you, the best thing I could have done was get a team.
Yes.
People ask me why am I so consistent on Instagram and why do I have so many followers? I have a great social media assistant who does all of that for me. I can't do it myself.
Right. Yes. The team is huge. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it may not be in my budget. I can't afford it yet. And you can't afford not to do it. I mean, it's like seriously, you can't afford not to have that team. And like I say, some of the literally in the Philippines, some of them are only $2 an hour. $2 an hour, $3 an hour, $4 an hour, and they do good work. My graphics person, and so you can find them because the Philippines, they say they got to have a degree just to work at McDonald's. They don't have enough jobs for them. But if you call PayPal, you call T-Mobile, you call it, it's Filipino people. They hire all these people in the Philippines. And I don't want to take away from people working here in the US, but the reality is they do better work for less pay.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, I do all of our social, but we do it for clients. So half of my social posting is clients. And
Mhm.
then because of this amazing show where we've interviewed almost 700 people, we
Awesome.
have so much content to create reels from. So
Yeah.
I'm creating reels from shows. I think I'm a year and a half behind.
Oh, wow.
literally. Yeah.
See, that's not a problem for you, right? So that's easy for you.
No, we've
And,
got
and
tons of content.
And that's a good idea, what you just said, because you have this show. So for authors out there that don't know what to do, have a weekly show and then take from the weekly show and use those for reels, just like you do. So, and I need to do that because I do have a six-figure author podcast I need to be more consistent with that. So you all are consistent. You have this every single week. So you have plenty of content.
And then four interviews each week. So that's 4 reels, but I'm a year and a half behind.
But you're gonna catch
I'm
up. I know
literally
you're gonna catch
working.
up.
I'm literally working on March of 2023. That's what I'm working on. So I'm never gonna run out of reels. That's really the long and the short of it. Now I did test what your idea about the story. I tested it. I posted a reel without making it the story. And then I posted a reel and made it the story. And the difference was 200 views versus 800 or 900 views.
I told you it worked, didn't it?
So now every time I post a reel, I make it part of the story. So I make it the story for that day. And so it does make a difference. Now we're approaching 100,000 followers. We're at 98,000 and like 200 right now. And I think by the time of the festival, because we're doing a lot more marketing, which gets us more followers. We're doing paying Facebook with me. That's what that means. We're paying Facebook more to get the word out. And so we're getting more followers per day than we normally do. But we pay Facebook every day anyway. We just pay them more when it's leading up to the festival.
Awesome. Awesome. And that's awesome because that's the thing, is more awareness, and not only to, the author community, but more awareness to, of course, Black authors, more awareness to the event, more awareness to everything that's coming up. That's how I found out about you all years ago, is from ads, the Facebook ads. So they work. And you just said something. Look, Facebook stories work, Facebook ads work, boosting. And so, like I said, there's so many things we can do with social media, and the average person does. Matter of fact, this week alone, I think I told about 3 people that didn't know Facebook pays 7 different ways. So people are just posting and they don't even know that they can, not everybody, but that they can generate an additional stream of income, 7 streams of income from Facebook.
So you're going to be talking about some of this at your seminar. Your seminar is Saturday, October 19th at 1 p.m. from 1 to 3 p.m. And tell us a little bit about what you'll cover in your seminar.
Absolutely. So the seminar is the 6-figure author formula. And I used to have people tell me all the time when I wrote my first book, oh, you can't make money from books. You can't make money from books. So I needed to, of course, prove them wrong. And so I had to teach them, look, this is how you can make 6 figures from your book. Initially, I started teaching about becoming a best-selling author, but you could become a best-selling author and still not make a lot of money and still have to work a job. I know a lot of authors, they're very, very unhappy at their jobs. I call it a just over broke, right? Or some people call it the journey of the broke, but they want to be self-employed and they just don't know the strategy. So in the 6-figure author formula, I teach them so many strategies on how to become free from their job so that they could live the life that they love and go and sign books, do the speaking engagements if they want to, and just really live the life of a full-time author, speaker, and coach. And if they're disciplined enough and diligent enough to follow the instructions I give them, literally really become a 6-figure author and make 6 figures from their books.
Okay, so there'll be a lot of authors at the festival and a lot of aspiring authors.
Awesome.
Come as well. And so one bit of advice I give authors is, those aspiring, that Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not going to, your first book is not likely to set the world on fire. That's just not the way it works. Now, some people are able to turn their first book into a big money maker, but the average person doesn't. And so, and that's mainly because most first books are autobiographical and they're not really motivational or something where people can gain information or be entertained or whatever. So, and when people write their biographies or autobiographies, I tell them, unless you're a celebrity, nobody really cares. That's just really, it's hard to sell that. You may need to get it off your chest, but as far as people buying it
Yes.
and paying what now, and sometimes people want to charge $20 or $25 for a book that's like 100 pages. And so those aren't likely to. I'm just talking about likelihood. And
Well,
people
no,
sometimes
you're
people
right
take it
about that, Gwen. You're right about. I tell people most people want their first book to be a book about their life.
right.
And what I tell people, if you're not a celebrity, if you're not a famous entrepreneur, or or
Okay.
anything
But
like
then
that, it's
people
going to be
know.
very hard to sell your book. So I tell people all the time, and it sounds harsh, I say nobody cares about your life story.
They don't.
However, they do care about the message that you're trying to get across. So if you can tell your life story in such a way where you're giving a message, like for instance, Cupcake Brown, nobody knew who she was, but she had such a compelling story and she had a message behind her story that her story became a best-selling book. So if you're able to formulate your message as you're telling your story, we don't need to know about the day you were born up until the day you stand in front of me. But if you can deliver your message and weave your story in between that, then that could wind up probably doing very well. But some people don't want to hear that.
Well, let me change the narrative for you a little bit, because again, social media has changed the game. So you could not be famous yet, but you could become a social media influencer in 6 months,
Absolutely.
and then everybody will want to buy your book just because you're a social media influencer. So
If
that's
my
one.
girl Jackie Honor writes the book, I'm buying it. I love her.
See, that's the thing. And so you could become an influencer just on Instagram or just on TikTok. You could literally have one video go viral and get 1 million views, and I've seen it so many times, especially on TikTok. TikTok is one of the easiest platforms to go viral on. And so, and YouTube Shorts now, because again, people, they just scroll through, like you said, your boyfriend, the reels. So that's two. Number three, best known beats best product. So it doesn't even matter how good the book is. If you are out here hustling and you're out here at every event selling your books, you had a book signing every week or a speaking engagement every week. So I'm gonna give you a little tip. So, Les Brown is one of my mentors, right? He made his first million in 3 years before social media, before all of this. Not because he was famous. He wasn't famous back then, but that's how he became famous, is because he said, you know what? I'm making a decision. Every stage I could get on, I'm going to speak for free and I'm going to sell my You Got to Be Hungry. He had a $10 cassette. He sold them to 4 cassettes, $10 each, $40. So every time he spoke, he sold it for $40. And in 3 years, he was a millionaire because he was willing to go out there and hustle, or people that are willing to get ads, Facebook ads for their books, or now Amazon ads. Amazon has ads now. Etsy has ads. TikTok, everyone has ads now. Just like you boost the show and the event, you literally could be a nobody and nobody know you, but you get the right ads person and they put ads on your book, you can literally make 6 figures from a book with nobody knowing you because of Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, or even Etsy ads or Amazon ads. So it's just the social media has changed the game. You really, without being famous, I don't care if it's your biography, I don't care what it is. You can add the right ads person and the right type of they call it creative for your ad, and you can sell 1 million books.
Well,
Okay, now what you
the key is to
said,
have
okay, that's what I was
is to
gonna
put the
say.
work in.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because now what you said, yes, it can happen, but that's true. before social media now or with anything, you have to be willing to hustle. You have to put some work in. You can't just say, okay, I'm gonna do it and then sit at home and it's just gonna do it by itself. That's not the way anything
Well, I'm
works.
gonna tell you about my one of my coaches, Billy Jean. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to one of his classes today. He said a lot of times they'll tell you as an entrepreneur you have to go network. And he talks very raw. He's like, I'm not networking shit. I'm not going out there. I don't want to. But the thing is, some people will hear that and say, well, he became a millionaire and he doesn't go out networking. But you know what he does do? He does a lot of ads. He's on
Absolutely.
social media all the time. He teaches
Absolutely.
people how to create social media ads. So he
Right.
doesn't have to go out there and network because his customer base is coming to him. So I
He's
say all
doing
of that to say,
networking online.
I'm sorry.
He's networking online.
No, he
Yes.
doesn't network. He
No, I'm
sells.
saying what he's doing is
No, what he's
actually
doing is not networking. All he's doing is selling. He doesn't
well, but
network.
yeah, but what I'm saying is he's connecting with people, but it's on.
No, I'm trying to tell you, he does not network with, he does not do that. All he does, he gets out there and he does Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and he teaches. But ask him to name 10 people in one of his classes, he couldn't tell you.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm
Awesome.
using networking in a generic sense.
Right. She's basically saying he's built his community and built his clientele virtually networking through
Right.
social media.
As opposed
Yeah,
to
well,
posting a
if
post.
you want to call it virtual
Yeah,
networking, but see
yeah.
the way I see networking is getting to know people and knowing who they are, and then getting to know other entrepreneurs. I'm saying that there's not a lot of people he does that with. He's just about selling. But even so, he's not going to. My point is he's not going to networking events, and a lot of people will hear him say that. Well, Billie Jean doesn't go to networking events, so I'm not going to go to networking events either. I'll just sit at home and I'll post my book on social media and they're going to come to me. And they don't realize how much hustle he does on the
Right.
back end, is my
Right.
point.
Right.
No, I
But
just get back to my original point.
Mhm.
It takes hustle. Whatever, whatever you're doing is not going to do itself. It's not going to just poof happen. You have to have a plan and a strategy, and you have to hustle and work it. And you can do it with, like Melanie says, she finds people in the Philippines. I, you know, and I've never used marketers from there, like graphics people, because I
right.
use ones here, but I do use graphics for my books I get
Mhm.
from overseas. So,
Absolutely.
a lot of people overseas, they do good work. Um, and it's normally cheaper. There might be communication issues a little bit, but you have to work
Yes.
that out. You have
Yes.
to work that out. But if you need to save money, and we all like to save money, it's a good way to find, and you can find them on several different platforms. Fiverr is one. I've used Freelancer, uh, and there's some other ones, but those are ones that are more one-on-one, where you're not going through a third party trying to hire. It's more like face to face with whoever the individual is, and you're negotiating with them, or you're talking to them about their service. So
Mhm.
is that the way though? Is that how did you find the people in the Philippines?
Actually, one of my coaches referred them. They use them all the time.
Okay.
And there's several or YouTubers as well. When I looked at like people that have like they talk about doing ads, they talk about Shopify store. I'm always learning. That's the thing about me is I'm always trying to learn how to do better, how to get better, how to sell more, how to do more. And so I've heard a lot of even the drop shipping YouTubers say, hey, we use these people in the Philippines to do X, Y, and Z. So I started doing my research and I said, you know what? I didn't realize they were as cheap as like $2 an hour though. But there are several websites that some of the YouTubers shared. So I went to them. So how they work is it's different than Fiverr because you can communicate with them outside of that particular website. Some of them you do pay a one time, like once a year or a monthly fee. And then you literally can post a job and you can have you'll have like hundreds of people apply for that particular job. Say you want somebody to moderate a Zoom, or you want someone to edit some videos for you. Then you post video editing, what you're looking for, and you'll have people apply for it. Or you also can look through some of the people, you could put whatever job you want them to do, and you can start looking at their resumes and what they do, and you can hire them. You pay through the app, but my guy usually, like I said, we communicate through WhatsApp on a regular basis, and whatever I need, I just send it to them, pay them once a week. You don't even have to pay them up front. You pay them after the job is done. Unlike Fiverr, you pay before the job is done.
Yeah, they kind of they hold it and then they don't release it until the job is done.
Right. But I
As long
mean,
as you put the money
right,
in trust or whatever.
right. So
It's on
we pay,
escrow or whatever they call it. And
yes,
then they get paid after the job is done. Because you have to approve releasing the funds
right.
before they get the money. But
Well,
you don't have the money anymore.
well, Melanie, we have about 5 minutes left. What are a couple other tips you can kind of squeeze in before we end?
One is to not limit yourself. So expect, because a lot of people limit themselves as I'm just an author. No,
Mm.
your book, you can create multiple products and services around your book. And so I tell them you could create a whole coaching package, a speaking topic. The one title of your book, you can create merchandise from everything around your whole book. And so don't limit yourself to that. And then also don't limit yourself to selling onesies. Learn how to sell to groups. So I'm going to talk a lot more about that in my workshop, about what type of groups you can go out there and get. I'll mention one now. You can go to book clubs, right? A lot of people don't even think about that. They're like, oh, I got to sell one at a time. No, sell multiple books, even to one person. Like when I just did a book signing at the Congressional Black Caucus, and most of the people bought 4 books from me. Why sell one? If I
Mm-hmm.
sell 10 people, if I see 10 people and only selling one book, that's only 10 books. But if I sell 4 to each person, that's 40 books. That's a big difference, isn't it?
Yes, it's a big
Absolutely.
So I tell people learn how to sell in bulk, and so many different opportunities to sell in bulk. I mean, some of them, even some of my clients, they're like school teachers. I'm like, you never thought to go to your school, library and have them buy it in bulk. People just, it's like a lot of people just don't think about basic ways they can sell. And so in the 6-figure author formula, like I said, I talk about selling in bulk. I talk about just all kinds of different creative ways to market your book that the average person just don't think about.
So how can we sign up for your webinar?
No, it's live at
Okay.
yeah, I'll be there. She just said, what, Saturday? What time is my workshop?
Is that
Oh,
one?
you mean you're doing it in Houston?
Yeah, she's
Yes,
doing
ma'am.
Oh, and then you were talking. I thought you were doing something like in the next few days. My bad.
No,
Well, it will be in next few days.
yeah,
It's
in
gonna be here
October.
before we know it.
Yes, and I will be doing it in Houston there. I used to do it live, and I'm thinking about doing it again. A lot of people have asked. So I want you all to come to Houston though. Those that are watching, if you can't come to Houston, message me on and if I get enough people, I'll go ahead and set up a webinar. But for now, I'm doing it live in Houston.
And
Well,
it's free.
I'm looking
So
It's
forward to
free.
interviewing
Everybody
you.
can come.
I'm looking forward to interviewing you in Houston. I try to interview the workshop facilitators prior to their workshops so we can try to get
cool.
more people to come on out. So I'm looking forward to
Absolutely.
interviewing you there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Rhonda is our official literary correspondent at the festival, in addition to being the co-host of Black Authors Matter TV, and we've taken the show on the road. And so we it's been interesting. I'll put it like that.
All right. Well, I look forward to meeting you all in person there. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and I think you two share a military background. Don't you have a military background, Melanie?
I am a veteran of the United States Army. Yes, ma'am.
Too.
Cool. Yes, yes,
So thank
yes.
you
And
both for your service.
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. I think veterans are taught enough discipline where we literally have that leadership ability and organizational skills that we learn from the military to help us be better entrepreneurs. I really do. I think military are more disciplined And when I see other entrepreneurs, not saying that they're not disciplined enough, I just think that we're taught different when we're in the military. And so if we have to stay up later or if we have to get up early, it's like we
Right.
have this
We
make
do
it
what we
happen
have to do.
attitude.
And that's true. I haven't met any. Now, I'm not talking about people like got in the army and then got dishonorably discharged because they couldn't cut it. I'm talking about people who've been in the service and spent some years in there. I haven't met one that wasn't solid, just really a go-getter and directed, focused.
Yes.
And so I like working with people like that because entrepreneurs are like that. And I'm a longtime serial entrepreneur. So you have to be like that to make it work because
Yes.
it's up to you to make your living,
Yes.
So that's what it takes. Well, we're at the end of our time, Melanie. Can't wait to see you in person in Houston, October 19th. And come on out, everybody, to the festival and to attend Melanie's workshop.
All right. See you later. Thank you for
Okay.
having me again.
All
Thank you
right.
for being here.
Okay, so our next guest was actually recommended to us by a previous guest who was on the show about a month ago, maybe not even a month ago. Sharon Draper was middle school and young adult author, best-selling. And she said we needed to get Sharon Flake on the show. And so we reached out to Sharon and she accepted our invitation to be on Black Authors Matter TV. So welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see
Okay,
you.
great,
We
great, great,
can
great.
see you.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Black Office Matter world out there.
So thank you so
Thank
much
you for
being
having us.
on
Yeah,
the
thanks for
show.
being here.
And you have had a very successful career with your young adult or middle grade young adult books. And your most well-known book is The Skin I'm In. And
Yes,
it was
yes.
the groundbreaking book. What year did that come out? What year was that
The
released?
Skin I'm In came out in 98. And
Okay.
I'm still hearing from people all over. I was at McDonald's here in Pittsburgh just yesterday. I give my credit card. I was just getting a diet soda, people. I gave my credit card to the young woman and she said, are you that author? You wrote the book, The Skin I'm In? I'm like, yeah. She said, oh my God, I loved it. I read that and Money Hungry. And people don't realize, I'll show it real fast, not to get you off course. The Life I'm In, the follow-up came out about 2 years ago. So I said, listen, what's your working hours? Have you read this one? She said, no. I said, I'm gonna come back here by Thursday, because that's when she's out for the week. And I'm gonna bring you a copy of The Life I'm In. So I feel blessed and lucky and fortunate to have the best reader fans in the world. So yeah, it's been a good book.
Yeah, that book came out the same year we started KushCity.com. And that's been 25 years, really look 26 years. In December,
26
we started it, we launched in December of 98.
Yeah,
So
I think Skin came out maybe in September. There are like about 1 million copies. They're sold on 6 continents. The follow-up, The Life I'm In, is Char's story, the bully from the first book. And believe it or not, because of Char's story, I think 3 years ago that came out, then we got an email from publishers in Italy who said, not only do we want to publish Charlize Jones, The Life I'm In story, but now we also want to publish The Skin I'm In story. So that book still has life and still has energy and love. So
That says a lot. That says a lot about you as an author. It says a lot about that story. What do you think it is that gives it such staying power?
I keep saying, God, really, really. That's one thing. I think to have in a world where people don't always value, we know this as Black women, Black girls and women. So, and then you put a Black girl in the inner city, right? So she's a Black girl in the inner city, dealing with being dark skinned, and bullied because of it, and finding her voice and having people all over the world saying, hey, I could resonate with your story, and that story is no small thing. But what happened when that book came out, Black girls started saying, especially, I've never seen my face, dark skin on the cover of a magazine, of a book. Malika is so open and honest and vulnerable in a world where people still are ashamed. They don't want to say, hey, guess what? I'm being like teased because of, acne, or for her because of the color of my skin. And not only am I being teased, boy, I'm really getting hit. And what happens is people started buying it for their kids. Mothers that would say, hey, I have a dark skinned girl, I want to read this book. Or we live in predominantly white neighborhood. She's the only Black kid in the classroom. Like maybe 10 years ago, I heard from a college student that said, I was the only Black person in my master's program. And I was starting to feel some kind of way, like I couldn't make it. And she said, then I remembered The Skin I'm In, the book. And I can't remember if she read it again or she just remembered what it was about. And she said, I knew I could keep it, I could do this. So it has some really deep roots and power. It's just resonated with girls, with boys, with, gay students. A gay Boston student years ago said, Miss Sharon, I went to a school, I started a book club called The Skin I'm In. So when you're in middle school or high school, it can be hard. I was in a school in New York not too long ago, and I was there to talk about the skin I'm in and the life I'm in different books. And me and a student are walking through the hall, because a lot of times people send young people to greet me and to, walk me into, and I just saw this very slight interaction, right? This girl, look at this girl. And I'm like, whoa, something just happened. And I think maybe she's bullying this girl, right? And if you were in that crowd of students, you would have missed it. And then
Wow.
I don't think I said anything to her. And she said to me, she's bullying me. And it was ever so slightly. And with technology, we think the bullying is just happening online, but it's still happening up close and personal. And you still need books like The Skin I'm In and other books to help keep young people walk that journey.
Right. That is so sad. But that you had your observation skills on 10 at that time, that you were even able to notice that, because some adults may have been into what they were saying, maybe concentrating on where they were going or what have you, and they would have never noticed that exchange. But you were able to notice that. Is that because you write young adult stories, so you're a little bit more in tune with things like that?
Here's the funny thing, and I always tell people, I'm not observant in the way people think I am. So when I come to your school, and if I have to go to the bathroom, I tell people, I'm literally going to ask you 10 times to the bathroom that is up the hall and around the corner. Because if you don't tell me, I am going to get lost every time. So I tell young people sometimes, sort of this quirky brain. I see and I don't see, sort of. I'm focused in a way. If I'm with young people, and maybe that is it, I am focused on them. Like, when I'm signing books at schools and sometimes teachers try to jump the line, I'm like,
the teachers jumping the line. Now y'all won't sign the child if the child did it.
Yeah, but I understand sometimes they're busy. They have to get in and get out of that auditorium. And I'm like, oh, and they will say, you're all about these young people when you come. And I am. This is not a world that I visit. I tell people all the time, I'm not writing for teenagers because I'm looking for my great adult novel to write. I'm here to stay. This is the world that I encompass and I live in. And I feel lucky and blessed to be here. To share and tell their stories.
Okay, so were you an
awesome.
educator by profession?
Excuse me?
Were you an educator by profession?
People think I was because I worked at the
You act like you're a teacher, like you're in school all the time.
You know what? I've worked with young people a long time. My first job was after I came out of the University of Pittsburgh. My first year, probably, I keep thinking, why'd you take that job? It might have been the only job I could get or find. But it was working at a group home with young people. It was McIntyre Shelter. There were like, imagine 10 or 12 cottages that held teenagers. They lived there. You were in that cottage if you were abused, if you were violent, different reasons you might be there, if your parents didn't want you. And it was from like newborns to like 18, and I worked with girls. So that was sort of my first job. And then I went from there to working with young people in foster care for, I think 6 years, 6 or 8 years, where it was a very small program. And my job was to help the child adjust to the foster home. I visit them every week. I would go to their school if there was a problem. I developed treatment plans. I went to court sometimes. And for people who always say, you can't work with kids if you never had any children, I was 25 giving 45 and 50-year-old adults advice on how to handle their children. And so I think if you have a heart for it, you really certainly can do it. And, you're working with other people that can give you advice or whatever. And then, I went to Pitt for 18 years working in public relations. And because I was at the university, people think I was a professor or a teacher, but I never was. So.
Oh, okay. So
You were just around them enough.
Yeah, I was
around young people in their formative years.
I was really around them forever. And I think I worked at a daycare center when I was in college and I look back and say, God, you had that thing worked out, right? Right. So helping me develop a heart and relationships with young people along the way. And I write for teenagers. I think people think that's probably why you write for them. I was writing from the teenage perspective when I was in college. And I tell people middle school is hard. And because Malika got bullied, they think, oh, you were bullied, Miss Sharon. I'm like, no, I did have a fight once when I was like 10 and I got, I lost, but I wasn't bullied. But when you go into middle school, especially, and you have your 6th grader, right? And then they become a 7th or 8th grader. And by then you're like, oh, my teeth are too big, my legs are too skinny. What about my hair, right? You're judging yourself a lot because you think the world is, and a lot of times when you're in school, they are judging you, that's for sure. And so I think I had a sensitive heart for that because I was shy growing up. I was like insecure, all that stuff. And I think I emotionally can feel my way through a story.
Okay.
How do you continue to be able to write for young people? I mean, because the older you're getting, that gap kind of widens, but you're still able to write in a way where the kids are able to identify
and resonate with it. I think there's several things. If you look at the skin, and people say, now because technology, you can tell it wasn't written like yesterday, but still students sometimes still struggle. When was this written? And I said, because I never really used, not much anyway, I try not to, slang. They think I use slang because I write in African-American vernacular English, right? So that's one thing. They look at that and they see that sort of, I think sometimes that's hip and cool and they think I'm doing slang. And I have to say, mostly I don't have slang. Slang can kind of date your work. So it sits in a particular space and time. I'm not saying you're not going to find any, but pretty much I don't usually do music and stuff that dates it sort of. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is that young people are very frank and they're very honest. And we don't like always how they frank and honest because, you can get your feelings hurt, right? And my characters are very frank and honest and they're very vulnerable. And I think young people, I was in Ohio, like maybe 6 months ago, and a librarian pointed out a student and said, his background is that he had been in a juvenile facility. She said, well, it turns out he likes to read. She said, I gave him, for people, I don't know if I showed them The Life I'm In.
Yeah, can you show because somebody asked about that. Can you show the whole cover of The Life?
Lift it up a little bit.
Because we can only see the top.
That's the family I'm in. That's the book that's coming out April 25th, 25. I think you start to order it April 7th or something. This is that up?
Yes. the life.
That's the life I'm in.
Okay.
And so she says, you know, I don't know why she suggested it. I can't remember. Did he see the book? And she gave it to him. She said the next day he came back and said, I just basically stayed up for hours and all night or something, and I read the book. We think that boys won't read. We think that boys will not read novels about young girls, right? And so I've been fortunate that I have a book called, I don't have it with me, but Who Am I Without Him, about girls and boys and relationships. And I've had boys take that out. I've gotten The Skin I'm In, I'll never forget, a Caucasian teacher in Alabama she emailed me and said, you know, like for the last couple of weeks, we've had boys coming in every day asking for The Skin I'm In. And she said, and they're all white boys. And she said, I kept thinking, is there sex in that book? What's in that book? She said, there's no sex in the book, Karen. Sex in the book. She says, but they just liked it. And because all of those books allow readers, boys, girls, Black, white, Native American, to kind of see teenagers honestly and how they move in the world, with honesty, with vulnerability, with humor. And I think that's, I also, as a writer, from the very first book, I did not want you to see me, the writer. You know how you're reading and all of a sudden you're like, man, the writer just showed up now, you know, a kid, but she wouldn't say that. I really have tried my best to erase myself, so that you just are hearing and from that teenager. So teenagers will ask me, like, did you interview? Like, who did you, like, what? Did you write this, or did somebody else? Did kid write this for you? What? And so, and that is moving myself out of the way and only letting you see the world through this young person's eyes. And so that's probably why, you know, I'm still can write from teenagers. Maybe one day I won't be able to write now. And I still feel really fortunate. I still feel really like blessed. You know, this is to me the best gig on the planet. So I hope God wants me to keep doing it for a while.
Now, was there a particular catalyst for you to write The Skin I'm In? Was it a situation? What made you say, I'm going to write a book about this dark-skinned girl that's trying to figure out who she is? What made you do that?
What made me do that? I gave birth to a dark-skinned girl. And before Brittany was born, I wrote off and on for the years, but I was like a lot of writers, like a lot of people, right? Like, okay, I'm writing today, I'm starting that short story. And then 5 months later, what was I writing? I was writing that short story. Okay, right. And I mean, I was doing other things writing. I was doing off and on some stuff for publications, off and on, you know. But in terms of actually writing fiction, that's sort of like, yeah, I'm doing it now, I ain't doing it. And then she was born, and I don't know, I got really consistent. For one, I started writing and telling her stories about dark-skinned girls who could fly and they could solve crimes. I knew that we as a community, any place where, you know, the boats traveled and dropped some folks off and put them in slavery and all that sort of things, any place that was colonized, basically, people struggle with the skin that they're in. And so I knew that, but I will tell you, so that's why, but I will tell you, I had no idea at the depth and level that the whole colorism thing was until the book came out, until young people start coming up to me and their parents start coming up to me, and grown women would read the book in book clubs, and some still do, right? To have conversations about what it was like growing up. I still get letters and notes about, I keep saying a couple of months ago, my daughter always saying everything's a couple of months ago to you. But maybe 8 months ago on Twitter, somebody put the jacket to The Skin I'm In up. And in 32 hours, there was 600, I think, and 78,000 views of people who had grown up or taught the skin I'm in.
Wow.
That's
Yep.
a lot. And
That's
and
a
those
lot.
were grown-ups, right? So they were
Yes.
grown-ups. I get emails from people saying, hey, you know, I just had a baby and I bought the book for my child so that she could read it when she's older. So it still has a life of its own. I wrote The Life I'm In because people for years have been saying, whatever happened to the bully? We wanted to know what happened to Shar. And so I told her story about 3 years ago, I think that came out. And the Kirkus Review people, it was up for a $50,000 prize out of 10,000 entries, books that they read. They selected 6 books to win this $50,000 prize. And The Life I'm In did not win the prize, but The Life I'm In was one of those 6. And I was really thrilled.
Oh, that's still an honor.
It's still an honor. It's a book about um, uh, human trafficking, as a matter of fact. So it takes the characters, it takes Shar, and Malika is the protagonist in The Skin I'm In. Shar's the protagonist in The Life I'm In, and it takes them and it puts them in here. And Shar ends up being trafficked, and so having people walk that thing out and getting to see Shar very differently too. You know, caring for a baby that's not her baby. It's issues of forgiveness. Am I my brother's keeper? Because she wasn't nice to Malika in the first book. So you have the second book, and I ask young people sometimes, could you forgive Shar? And they were like, no, I don't think I can do that. But they understand and appreciate Shar in a different way. And they both show up again in The Life I'm In, the latest
Family
one.
I'm in.
The Family I'm In. Lord, there's so many I'm ins. I'm getting The Family I'm In, which is about John and Caleb, 2 boys from the first book. In the first book, Caleb was sort of perfect. You know, I really was also trying to show the world that Black boys show up in different ways. So he was this great student. He was Afrocentric. He was he wrote poetry and he loved Malika, but I can't get any better than that. But John tells the story, the guy in the jacket. He tells the story, and he was somebody that teased Malika in the first book. And people always said, oh, did he really like her? He's her color. He talked about her complexion. Did he really like her? So I explore several things in this book. Both of these boys have amazing fathers. They do. They have fathers that love them madly. Caleb's father is just guy who's been hardworking, the kind of guy that you can just go and have all kinds of conversations with as a boy. And John, the protagonist, does go to Caleb's father to have conversations, but he's ill and he's sick. And because he's been so amazing, Caleb is like, no, I got to step in. I got to fill in his footsteps. Maybe I'll drop out of school. I got to make money. He doesn't do anything illegal to make that money, but he does sort of work himself into the ground, and he has to learn to have some parameters around that relationship. John, again, the guy on the cover, his father is wonderful in his own way. He's the kind of guy that everybody in the neighborhood wants him for a father. But he, in a way, would like a different kind of son, right, than he has. His father wants the kind of boy that, hey, is scoring off the charts in basketball, right, is the quarterback in football. And John doesn't like sports. You know, he's not interested. He's interested in archery, but he's not interested in football or baseball. John wants to get his first kiss. He's 17, and wants this summer, I want my first kiss. I want a girlfriend. And his father's like, yo, you should be like me. Why aren't you more like me? So he's working out things with his father in terms of what is a man, what does manhood look like. But he also is in this weird space, John is, he is on the one hand really good friends with Malika and Shar, but he struggles like some boys are, it's like some men are these days, and thinking like girls get everything. Like you guys are president of the student class, the student body, and the photography club, and this, that, and the other. And like, why can't boys have some things sometimes? So he has a foot in both worlds, right? He's vulnerable. He speaks and shares his heart with his friend, not with his dad, but he still has some of his father's ways, and he's trying to straddle that fence. So I'm hoping that boys, and men will have a lot of conversations about what does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a man? And I'm not trying to define it as a writer. I'm leaving plenty of space for you to have those conversations with each other, boys classes, fathers, and see where you all land.
Wow.
Wow, that's deep.
Mhm. Well, you certainly have thought out what you want to project in your books, the messages and the character development.
I
And
agree.
what made you come up with the whatever I'm in?
The
Like
family I'm in.
everything I'm in.
The family I'm in,
Well,
That
you know
the
you
what?
skin I'm
Okay,
in.
my fans, you know what? I think I would tell you for years, like I said, the skin I'm in is like what, 26 years old. And 3 years ago, I did shit, excuse me, I gotta look myself, the life I'm in. And I did that because for years and years, people kept asking me, teachers, everybody, when are you gonna do it? We want to know about these people, these characters. And I was afraid in a way, because I thought, oh my God, you ever seen a movie and you're like, see the sequel, and you're like, they should have stopped while they were ahead. I don't want to be that person. But I did it. I was seeing an uptick, looking at an uptick in human trafficking. And so that got me started. And then again, just thinking about lots of conversations, if you're on the internet, if you're elsewhere, right? Conversations about what is it like to be a boy? What does it mean to be a man? What are some of the issues that boys and men are having in that space? That might be different from what women might be seeing or thinking. And when I say issues, not like, my thought is I try to create books to have a conversation with young readers so that they can take and what they see and what they think in those books and maybe be so excited that they want to have conversations with themselves and with somebody else. And that's what I'm hoping for this as well, that the conversation continues. And that we'll all find out something more about young boys, young Black boys, how they love their relationship with their fathers, the struggle they have with the changing nature of boyhood and manhood, right? The expectations are shifting right under their feet. And we might not always agree or like it or think, hey, the way they think, but I think you don't get anywhere if you don't have conversations about it. And that's what I'm hoping for.
And this right now, almost more important than ever before, these conversations need to be had in this day and age.
Thank you. I'm in full agreement. With that.
So we're getting some really good feedback from the audience about getting a copy of the book, and the conversation is really important and necessary. So, and I do understand when you said that all the people who read The Skin I'm In want to know what happens to the characters. And that's Rhonda and I are both writers. And so I know when I had my one novel, I have all kinds of books, but when I had my novel, my one work of fiction, that I thought, this is it. And then the readers kept saying they wanted to know what happened to the people. So the main character especially. So I had to come up with the sequel, but it was 10 years in between. So
Okay, not the only one.
right.
A little bit longer than you
Yeah.
did, but yeah. So you know how people can be attached to characters
They
both ways.
can. I mean, they act like they're
Yeah.
real people, and I'm like, okay, these aren't real people.
I think it's a compliment when people ask whatever happened to such and such character. That means that they really resonated with that person or that character. They're really thinking about them, so they really want to know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just a reminder for people, if they want to reach out to me, I'm at, you can go to my website, sharongflake.com. And then if I have your information, I can keep you abreast of the book is not coming out to April 25. I would love to be able to, this is a thing to my editor, send me around the country, because I really want to connect with the people also that grew up on The Skin I'm In, and have conversations with them as well. And also,
That would be wonderful.
yeah, it would be great. And just a reminder to people that, and I know you guys have to go, that boys do read, boys will read. Some of my biggest fans are young men. And there are books out there for them. We just have to put them in their hands and read them to them if we have to, because guess what? Teenage boys don't mind being read to. I'm just saying.
Okay. So
That's true. That's
that's
true. I
what
wish we had time to read all the comments, but our time is up now. However, you've got to make sure you read these comments. I mean, you're getting
I
so much
will.
love right now.
we are.
Thank you.
And also, thank you for continuing to write. And the life I'm in is already available, and the family I'm in will be available in April of 2025.
And you
And
guys
the
are
Piano Man
amazing.
is still a book that you can get.
And you guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. This is the first time I've talked about the family I'm in. First time. Nobody's seen the
Oh, we're
jacket.
honored.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
wonderful. That's
I'm
so
honored. Thank you.
wonderful.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Keep
Have a
up the
great
good work.
evening and
I will, you
continued
too.
success. Sell
Thank you.
millions more.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take
Same.
care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we're having our last interview. That was amazing. I had,
Yes.
we sold that book when we had the walk-in, the brick and mortar store, the skin I'm in. So I remember that cover.
That's one of those books that you have to
Popular.
have read. You can't be like, well, I've never read that. You have to have read that book. That has to be part of your childhood. Just like Super Fudge and the Judy Blume books, this has to be right in there.
Yes. So okay, so our final guest is also named Sharon. But her name is Sharon Elliott, and she's been on the show before, but it's been a while, and she's back to talk about. She's also doing a seminar at the festival on why do I need an agent? Because the question about getting an agent, finding an agent, just how does the agency thing work is an often asked question, especially among aspiring authors, but also among indie authors who are interested in signing with a publishing house. So,
Well,
um,
before we get started with this
okay.
interview, Sharon, can you please accept my friend request? I didn't send it to you twice. I'm starting to think you don't love me.
I do love you. And I was like, I gotta apologize to Ryan. There's been so much going on, but I'm gonna get you before we even get to the conference.
Okay.
We're gonna get that made. We're gonna get that fixed.
All right. All right.
Okay. So when you hang up from the interview, maybe you can go do it then, so you don't get distracted.
Oh, perfect.
And then
There we
think
go.
2 weeks from now, oh, I should have done it. What was I supposed to do? Some Rhonda told me something.
It
So-
happens to all of us because we're all
Okay.
busy. We're
Yeah,
all doing things.
I have
Yeah.
sticky notes everywhere. So when something comes to
Here's
my
part
mind, I
of
can
my.
write it down.
What happened to you?
I had hand surgery.
Oh,
I had a trigger finger,
Ooh,
and it gotten so bad I couldn't even make a fist. So I
yeah.
was teasing about it, but it was hurting. I said I had to punch you with this hand, but I could slap you with this one. But I had surgery last week, and
okay.
I can use my fingers.
Okay.
So
Well,
we're
that only requires a click.
yeah. So
You
but
don't really, you can really use your index finger, and that's it.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I've had that trigger finger before. My thumb was like that.
Mhm.
It would click every time
Yeah.
I would do this.
Yes,
And for a while I couldn't really straighten out my thumb.
exactly. But mine
Yeah.
were not getting better, and so she had to
Go in.
cut it.
Yeah.
She had to cut
So
me.
you have some books behind you. Now, are those books of clients or your book?
These are my books.
Okay, my books.
I have a whole shelf over here on this side that has clients' books,
Okay.
which are wonderful and everything. But every now and then, it's a poor dog that don't wag its own tail. So
You're right. So, tell us about how you made the transition from author to literary agent.
okay, I started out as like everybody else, I guess. Oh, I got a book I want to write, and I started going to writers conferences. I'm exclusively involved with the Christian writing companies. And so I started going to Christian writers conferences. And the more I learned every year, because I'm one of these people, you tell me to do it, I'm going to do it that way. Right. And that works because, you know, people who were actual authors, editors, not agents, even back there at the time at the conferences, the years ago when I was going, there were no agents at conferences. You went to conferences to meet the publishers and the acquisitions editors. And so I would learn something one year, go home, totally rewrite, you know, and then come back the next year and learn, oh, I should have done that too. And then I would go home and do that. And after a while, I said, wait a minute. You know, all of this needs to be in one course, right? And so by then, of course, I had been published, and then I had started being invited to speak at conferences. And so that started putting together for me what turned out to be my Authorize Me seminars. And
I love that name, by the way.
Thank you. But as I moved along with that and grew with that, I love teaching people how to see their dream come to fruition. And it just felt like the natural next step. You know how it is with the Holy Spirit, right? You get this little thought, I don't hear voices, but I get this thought in my head and I know it's not me. And I was at a conference and the thought just came, how about agenting? And so there was an agent there who I knew for over the years. And I actually made an appointment, you know, one of those 15-minute appointments. I made an appointment with him. And I sat down and I said, what does it take to become an agent? And he gave me some advice and I thought, oh, okay, well, and he actually thought I already was an agent. Because one of the main things about an agent is the connections. You know, it's like Christianity. It's who you know.
Right.
So I said, okay. And literally the very next 15-minute slot, I was sitting down with a lady and her son about their books, because I was on the faculty at this conference. And I sat down with her, and as she told me about his book, she also mentioned the book she was writing. And I just said, oh, do you need an agent? Because I literally, you ladies know how it is, again, with the Holy Spirit. If God is moving you in a direction, you just need to step into it. And I'm just silly enough to go through doors that God opens. And I figured, okay, he gave me this information. If this is supposed to be me, then it's just going to work. And
well, the opportunity manifested itself immediately in your case.
Immediately. And that lady became my first client. And she actually was the second contract.
Wow. Because
as I started, at first I was only going to represent nonfiction because that's what I knew.
Okay.
And then the next so I signed Donna Scott was her name. I signed her, and I'm also an editor and a coach, a writing coach. So I started coaching her through writing the rest of her book as we were working on her book proposal and looking for a publishing house. And so we were in that process when I went to another conference, had an appointment with a lady who just had beautiful fiction. And I said, oh, yeah, I represent fiction. Right. And she ended up being the first contract that was secured through Authorize Me Literary Agency now. And we signed a 7-book deal.
Oh, 7 books.
Wow.
Right. For her.
That's huge.
That was
Well,
huge.
so how far are you into the 7 books? Have you finished?
She is on book, I want to say 5.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's between 4 and 5.
Okay.
And she's just been a writing somebody. She has to write a book every 6 months.
Oh,
Wow. That is a writing somebody.
it is.
But
Is it a series?
it's a series.
Okay.
Right. And she had it all planned out. She knew it's about these 5 women in this city. And so the first book introduces all the ladies and
Okay.
kind of introduces their issues. Then each book is on each individual woman. So that's 6. And then the last book is going to wrap those all
They
up.
come
And she
back
had
together.
it. Yeah, she already had it all in her head.
Okay.
And, synopsis of all the books already. So
Oh, okay. So she was prepared.
she was ready. That's what it
Yeah.
takes.
So
And
this is definitely a planner and not a pantser.
there you go.
Mhm.
There you go. And as an agent, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone, you might not know everything that you want to do, but you have a good idea of what God has placed in your head and in your heart. Right.
Mhm.
And my job as an agent now, and a writing coach is to help you get that out and down onto paper. And then, of course, strictly the agent part is matching you with a publisher.
Okay. And a lot of the well, I think all of the big publishers require an agent. I don't think
Yes.
any accept books at all without an agent. Because what an agent means, and this is my interpretation of what an agent means, and then you can tell me if my interpretation is
Okay.
correct. Okay. But what having an agent means, you've already taken some steps, and what the publisher is going to see is in the form it's supposed to be in.
Right.
So that cuts out work for them. So the agent is the middle person that makes sure that what the publisher gets is in the form that it needs to be for them to make a decision, for them to say yay or nay or sign.
Right. You're ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
Yeah. We are the middleman. We hold the hand of the writer and we hold the hand of the publisher, because publishing companies just don't have the time
Right.
to look at everything that comes across their desk. So they can only spend time on something that is exactly what they want. And like me too, I only have time now to look at something in a particular format, right? I'm looking for a 1 sheet.
Okay.
I tell people all the time, people don't have time to go through 6 and 8 pages of a media kit anymore. They need a 1 sheet. And I create 1 sheets for people, and they'll ask me all the time, well, what is a 1 sheet? I'm like, it's basically your entire media kit on 1 sheet of paper.
Yeah.
That's it. And on the front.
Yes,
on the front.
Not two-sided. If it's two-sided, the same thing is on the other side.
Yeah, and but knowing even how to put that together, Rhonda, I'm so glad you're doing that for people. I do that for people as well. As a matter of fact, I have it's on my website on authorizeme.net. I give you the directions and a sample, of a 1 sheet. Now, if you're an author and you can't put that together.
Well, some people, I'll give them a pass because everybody's not good at graphic design. And now I've seen some 1 sheets that people have put together themselves, and they're not they're not graphically appealing. The information is just thrown on there. So I'll give people a pass if they say they can't do it.
I'm gonna let you give them a pass. I'm a little harder on them because seeing a sample, you know, and then being able to here's the really big thing with authors, being able to synthesize down what that book is about.
Yeah.
Into one sentence. And then, you can now expand that sentence into a paragraph. And that is your about the book.
Well, you know, let me say this though. I did say I'll give people a pass, but I give people a pass for not knowing how to do it. I
Okay.
don't give people a pass for not knowing how to do it and doing it anyway because they don't want to get somebody who actually knows how to do it right for them.
Okay. Say
So I just wanted to clarify that.
that part. Yeah, and getting help, there is absolutely nothing wrong with getting help. The example or the metaphor that I like to use about writers is that of a little child. You could see a little child who is born to be a doctor, you know, and they have the compassion from the start. They are operating on the dolls. They're trying to operate on the cat. You know, everything is about health, right? But trust and believe, even though God has placed being a doctor in that child's DNA, they are going to go to medical school.
Well, for sure.
Well, so with writers,
I see where you're going.
we think we can jump medical school because it's in our heart to write. No, you still need help. You still need some education in this business, right? You even still need help with writing, right?
Yep.
So I taught school for 35 years. I taught English, mainly in high school for most of those years. And it is just amazing how many people did not listen to their high school English teachers. You know, about basic stuff, right? Agreement of subject and verb. Come on. We're not even into the spelling and punctuation and all of that. Those are tools of your trade if you are an author. So you need to be concerned about being good at that. And if you're not good at it, you need to get good at it. Or I'll go back to my medical example. You don't want a doctor who failed the classes on surgery. You know,
not operating on you.
Okay.
Not doing nothing on me. I don't even want you taking my temperature.
Exactly.
Because I can do that myself, actually. You know?
Right. So why do we think we could just write anything, even if it's a memoir? Why do we think we could write anything just because it's our story, without some instruction? You know,
because Sharon, the system now has made it so easy for anybody to say that they're an author, and then they churn out a product that's not very good. You know, on a scale of A to F, it's a D minus.
Yeah,
and it's missing the basic elements of a book. Even with children's books, which we have a children's book awards process that we do every year, and you'd be amazed at people who don't, for example, they don't have a copyright page.
Right.
In their book. It's the basic. You know, all you have to do is, and you don't need to even take a class for that. Go to a bookstore or library and look at a book. Look at a published book. Just look at a book. And it's the way your book should be is the way all the books are, which is with the title page. And then normally it's 2 title pages, but then the copyright page is on the left and the acknowledgments on the right. And there's some people, their acknowledgments are like they're trying to give a shout out to everybody in their family and all of that. In a children's book, they have a 2-page acknowledgement.
Right.
It's some elements of a book that people should examine and study before they just put anything out there.
Absolutely.
I tell people Amazon will take your money because they put out whatever you give them. That's what they put back. They process your file and they print whatever you give them. They don't give you any feedback or critique. They don't tell you if it's right or wrong. As
Yeah.
long as it's properly formatted, they will send it to you and
Yeah.
you can try to sell it to people.
Right. You're right. And so that's where my expertise as an agent comes in to tell, you know, an author not only here's how it's done, but to actually help. You know, I offer those guidelines, right? And know how to help you. That's where your brand, for example, comes into play. Do you even know what a brand is? Are you branded? When people think of X, are they thinking about you? You know, whatever it is your brand is, and then how does your book fit into that brand? So there's so many things that are important. Every author needs a website. You need some place where people can go and find you and be able to
Well,
communicate
now
with
Sharon,
you.
with that though, some people will say that they don't need a website because they have Instagram or they have a Facebook page. What do you say to that?
I say you need a website. Because you know, Instagram and all those, they do get information out, right? But it's sort of like we do a lot of online shopping, you know, now, but we still go to stores. You know, the brick and mortar store, we still go to. We know where we could go, maybe the Targets and the Walmarts, you know, things like that. That's like the website.
Mhm.
The website is your communication back and forth. Your website is the reflection of your brand. It's not just a social media, you know, one person back and forth kind of a thing. So that's what I look at when I'm looking at the website. There's so
And you
much.
have more control over your website. You have total control
Absolutely.
over that.
Well,
And
we should know that. I mean, how many times has Instagram gone down
yeah, or
and you weren't able
Facebook
to do anything?
changes things.
Mhm.
They change things, some, you know, and they do things differently than they did before. And people don't see your stuff. You can post something and nobody will see it, basically.
Exactly. Right.
Nobody. So you can't just rely on that. They
Right. You don't own that.
keep tightening that algorithm to the point where they force you to pay them for people to see your stuff. And that's, you know, that's Facebook for sure. I'm on Instagram, but I'm not, like, Facebook has 100,000 followers almost. Instagram has 4,000. So I spend my time on the one that has the, you know, close to the 100,000. I don't
And
do as much as Instagram.
your own list needs to belong to you. If
Yes.
your list is the people on Facebook or the people of Instagram, just like Rhonda said, Facebook can decide to kick you out.
They can.
Mhm.
And
I
then
know people that have
that
been kicked out.
I told you I lost my
5,000,
Facebook page.
8,000.
I had 5,000 followers prior to October. Well, I take that back. I had 5,000 friends. I had over 6,000 followers, and that was just on my personal page.
Mhm.
I still had I don't know, probably about 5 or 6,000 followers on my business page.
Mhm.
All of them gone, and I had to start all over again.
Right.
So if I had only depended on having a Facebook page, my business would have been ruined. But
Exactly.
fortunately, I had a website. I have a email
Email
list.
list, yes. And that belongs to you.
Right.
Yeah.
So nobody can take that away.
And there's so many spammers on Facebook, spammers and scammers trying to, if they see that you have numbers, trying to get you to give them their password by saying that they're Facebook Meta. And then that's happened to, I know it happened to Rhonda, but it also happened to another friend of mine where she lost all her followers. Because what they do is they lock you out of your own page and
Yeah.
you can't get back in.
Mhm.
So
Another thing that happened to me on Facebook in the comments, people were making comments, and then someone, because basically, you know, if it's not like you say your personal page, if it's just your public page, anybody can come on there, and so the scammer was answering anybody who made a comment.
Right.
yeah,
Telling
they
them to
do
go
that.
to somebody's page, thank me later.
Right. Yeah. And what I do with those people, because I get the I watch my notifications like a hawk. When I see two coming in from the same person, they get blocked and deleted that immediately. So they won't get to do a third one unless I'm in church and I can't check my phone. That's the only thing I have to do that after that. But because what happens, the notifications, they come in like that. They come in one after the other. It lets me know it's a scammer. And so I immediately block them. But you know, that takes time and energy, but you have to protect your stuff, you know. And some of them come on and try to date they'll put something in the comments with all the females.
Yes.
Like I noticed you had a beautiful smile and something like that. Did you see those, Rhonda?
Yeah.
we get all of those.
But
I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind me contacting you like this, but you have a beautiful smile. I'd love to be friends with you.
Block. I block them all.
Yeah, man, get off my nerves. But Sharon, I know we only have a couple minutes left. But can you talk again about what you're going to be talking about at your not your webinar, your live
seminar?
Live
I'm going to be
workshop?
talking about why you need an agent.
Your seminar is on Friday, the 18th. Is it at 4 o'clock or 3
It's
o'clock?
at 4 p.m. on Friday. Okay, you don't want to miss it. Okay. Why do I need an agent? So we're going to talk about what an agent does for you and with you. You know, what an agent is, you know, all of that, with our fingers on the pulse of the publishing world. We like to think that at least. Okay, the connections we can make with you. I know I'm talking about my clients all the time. When I'm meeting someone, you know, even at another conference, I might not have been thinking about that person particularly, but I hear something, right? Oh, you're looking for this. Oh, you know, I know my clients. I have somebody with this kind of book, with that kind of book. And that's what an agent, you know, is about, right? To hook you up and get you with those agents who are not having surgery all the time and doing all kinds of other things. But yeah.
Well, also, Sharon, it's possible when someone that comes there, you might meet some future clients at the book festival.
It's possible. It's possible. I know, you know, Rhonda is going to be my client in like 2 weeks. We are working this out. I think, I don't know if you got the email. I got remarried. God has sent me a new hubby. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, you told me about that.
And so, you know, we got that going on. So just all the things that have happened over this last year, I finally back in my seat. And that's the one thing about writing. If you're a people person like me, it's super hard to be a writer because you have to put your bottom in your seat and be all by yourself and do the writing, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, thank you again for coming back on the show and sharing with us about what an agent does. And you were doing the seminar on Friday, the 18th at 4 p.m. It's called Why Do I Need an Agent? You'll get to meet Sharon face to face, ask questions, and she'll be informing everyone about literary agency work and why it's so important.
Good. Thank you for having me again, ladies.
Thank you for being here. It's always a pleasure.
Congratulations on your nuptials.
Thank you.
On your new marriage. So,
Thank you so much.
all right. Well, have a great evening. We'll see you in a month or so.
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Well, that is our final interview for tonight. And we are at the precipice almost of the event of the year, the National Black Book Festival. And we are very excited about it coming up. It's right around the corner. And so we will have, I do want to tell everybody, we have a couple of scheduling issues that to make you aware of. The Tuesday after the book festival, we will not have a show because we will be recovering during that week. And
Child, I sure will, because I might have to travel all the way to Houston and back.
yeah, it's very tiring. I have to take the week off after. And then the Tuesday, November 5th is election day. So we will not have a show on election day. So that's it for this week. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.